Hello, thank you for joining us for another episode of All Access. In honor of National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in March, we had a conversation with Dani Smith, the District Director of Comprehensive Transition Programs at City Colleges of Chicago. In this role, Dani oversees programs that support students with intellectual and developmental disabilities in preparing for and obtaining integrated employment. Dani has spent her year in the transition space, supporting students with disabilities to and through college, including at Chicago Public Schools, where she trained special education teachers, and in her previous role as Associate Director of Disability at Roosevelt University, where she created a peer mentor program and ensured students received appropriate accommodations and supports. We are excited to welcome Dani to the podcast and share another conversation with you.
All right, Dani, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you being a part of our March All Access episode. To get us started, we'd love to hear a little bit about the After 22 program, as well as your role with the program.
Yeah, so After 22 is my favorite thing in the whole world, so I'll start there. So After 22 is a fairly new program for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So it's called After 22 because, as a lot of people listening might be aware, special education services end for individuals with disabilities in the state of Illinois at 22, at the age of 22. So that's when a lot of individuals with IDD, intellectual and developmental disabilities, just disabilities in general, age out of high school and kind of, for lack of a better term, fall off a cliff. There's just not a ton of resources out there, especially in that transition world. There's a lot of individuals who need support and only so much support that we can give. And so the After 22 program was kind of created to fill in the gap for some of those students. So it's a college and career focused program. It's at two of our city college campuses right now. We're hoping to expand farther, but it is a 2.5-year program for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Students don't have to be 22. They have to be 18. They have to have completed their high school diploma, and they have to have had a documented intellectual and or developmental disability to qualify. And then other than that, we want to make sure that they are motivated to continue to learn, to eventually gain those skills, keep working on those skills to become career ready, and then leave us with a job. So like I said, it's a 2.5-year program at the college. It's a mix of credit and continuing education courses. So we have foundational courses that students come in as a cohort, and they take their first couple of classes together. So those foundational courses are like computer basics, workplace readiness, career exploration, college readiness, life skills, soft skills. We have all of these like foundational courses that we know sometimes in the transition, just the jump from high school to college can be really scary for anyone. And so for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities, we just give them the little bit extra support as they come in to learn that shift. College can be scary. It's new. The laws change completely after you leave high school. And so giving them that foundation to be a college student and then to be workplace ready is where we start. And then after that, students get to take classes that they want to take as long as they qualify for those classes. So those are our credit classes. A lot of students we have taking like Business 111 because they're interested in entrepreneurship, or African American studies, or art, or music, or things that they're interested in. So when students enter our program, they get what we call an IPP, not to be confused with an IEP. In the special ed world, we love acronyms. So our IPP stands for Individualized Pathway Plan. So it's a goal plan. So when students enter our program, we meet with them individually and we say, what do you want to do? And how can we help you get there? The end goal is always employment. What is your employment goal? What do you want to do after this program? A lot of times students come in and don't know, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the same for anyone who goes to college. Not everyone goes to college and then uses their degree, or not everyone starts college with the same degree that they end college. So same thing with us, right? We try to work with them every semester. At least we're checking in with them to say, what are your goals? Have you changed your mind? how are things going? And so with that IPP, it is their plan to get from the beginning of after 22 to employment. So during their time in our program, they have a mix of those courses. A lot of our students audit the courses, the credit courses, but they're still fully integrated into the course. So that means they're also purchasing books, they're on Brightspace, they're doing the assignments. It is a fully inclusive program, and our students are integrated into the campus community, which I love. They get to go into the cafeteria and hang out. If there's sports balls happening, anything that's happening on campus, they are a part of that, which we really love. And then they get at least one internship during their time in the program. So typically that happens between their first and second year. That's the half year part, typically in the summer, but it's looked different for different cohorts as we expand and change our program. But the goal is to help them build independence, help them build career skills, and then empower them to leave with a job.
That's great. And can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be the program director?
Yeah, so I'm currently the district director of After 22. So like I said, it lives at 2 different campuses. I'm at the district making sure things are kind of consistent and that we are setting ourselves up to, I keep saying this, so I'm going to manifest it, hopefully expand. City colleges is 7 colleges, 7 campuses across the city. I would love to see an After 22 program at all 7. So right now we have 2 with the hopes of adding more. So how did I get here? Great question. I started in college as a special ed major. I have my special ed degree. I have my teaching license. I did all the student teaching and everything. I have my LBS1 certification. And then I ended up graduating college early, #overachiever. And it was December instead of in the summer where most schools were hiring for teachers. And so I took an interim position as the assistant director of a disability office at a small college in the city. Again, it was supposed to be temporary. It was somewhere where I worked as a student worker, and they just hired me on, knowing that in a couple months I would just go into CPS and be a teacher. And I didn't leave. I loved it so much. I stayed there. I never thought I would be finding myself in that college world, but I loved being able to help students as they came into college learn, like we just talked about, the foundational skills, the new laws that pertain to them, and especially that self-advocacy piece, because on the college side of things, we know you're an adult now. You get to make your own decisions. You get to be the one that's leading your own life. And I like to be the person supporting that and coaching them and doing all of that. So I started there, and then an opportunity came up to go back to CPS. And I worked for the district for a while on their transition team, because transition is my jam. I just love that area of figuring out what's next for students. And so I worked on their transition team for a couple of years. I worked with Christina. We did the transition fair every year, brought in thousands of students to provide them resources. And then from there, I got another opportunity to go back to the college side of things. So I went back to city colleges, and I was working on the Chicago Roadmap, which is also another great, awesome initiative that works with early college and setting CPS students up for just a college pathway early on. And I was in a disability role there. I was the only one doing the disability coaching. I was working one-on-one with students. And then the After 22 program started. And so I kind of just moved over there because all of this has always been in the transition world, the support world. But the After 22 program, I think, was a really exciting next step for me because it was creating the program that made students get to their transition. I had always been kind of maybe on the student side of things, and I really liked being on the program side of things because I'd seen a lot in the different roles that I've worked in, and I saw what could be done better. And so I wanted to implement that in the After 22 program. So I've been in this role about a year and a half, always in the transition, disability, special ed world, and I love it so much. I never want to leave.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't sound like you have to. It sounds like there's a lot of need for that. So
For sure.
When did the After 22 program start?
So in 2021, actually. So it's been around for a while, sort of, kind of. So that's when the funding, the connection started happening. So I was not there at the inception, but in 2021, there were some ARPA funds, which are COVID relief funds that the city had to build programs and to make sure students were being successful while, COVID was happening. That was a huge transition, speaking of transitions. And so it was Special Children's Charities. They had the funding. They got connected with Alderman Matt O'Shea. Southside Occupational Academy. So they are a transition school in CPS. And then Annixter Center, which is an employment agency for individuals with disabilities. And they came together and they said, hey, we see this need. We see a lot of it was formerly Special Olympics Chicago. We see a lot of our like athletes looking for a little bit more. Like they're out of high school, but maybe they want to try college. They're not sure if they'd be a right fit, with just the traditional supports. Then Alderman Matt O'Shea is a really big advocate for individuals with disabilities. And so that all came together and they formed the After 22 program. So it started really small, started as a pilot. We brought on our first cohort of 10 students in January of 2022. And then from there, we just kept bringing in more students. And at Daley now, we're in cohort 4. And at Wright, they're on cohort 2.
Great. And how do students learn about the program?
So we have a website that I can share with you all, and maybe you can put in the show notes.
Mhm.
Everything that you need to know about the program, how to get connected to us, you can go there. We have an interest form linked. It's the top thing linked on our website that just said, if you're interested to learn more, fill out your information. And then from there, you'll be added to our listserv. And anytime that we share new information or new resources or an application opens up, you will be the first one to get that information. We also have an email address, after22@ccc.edu. So any questions, comments, concerns, you want to get connected with us, you can reach out there.
That's great. We'd love to learn if this is like unique, like our other colleges and universities, do they have similar programs, or is this a pretty unique program in the country?
Yes and no. So I think it is very unique to our city because this is actually, After 22 is the only program like this in the city of Chicago that lives at a community college. So I think that's what makes it really special and unique and accessible, because our students pay city college prices. It's city college tuition. And our program, we're a CTP, there's another acronym for you, Certified Transition and Post-Secondary Program, which makes us financial aid eligible. So students can come to our program, fill out the FAFSA, use financial aid, and then use their grants and scholarships to help pay for our program. We are also DRS. We should keep count of how many acronyms we have here. DRS is the Division of Rehabilitation Services through the IDHS, Illinois Department of Human Services, all of that. We are also eligible for that. So that means individuals who have filled out their FAFSA then get connected with DRS, get a case worker, they get connected to services there. They can also help pay for our program. So I would say our program's unique in that it's really affordable and accessible, but we're not the only one. The state of Illinois has a few CTP programs, and then a bigger term, another acronym is IPSE. It's a inclusive post-secondary education program. That's kind of what we call it across the country, IPSEs. They look different in different states and different areas. Like Illinois has a bunch of IPSEs, but not all of them are CTPs like our program. Some of them are just, like there's College for Life programs, which are just different than like a TIPSID program and all of those things. They're everywhere, but there could definitely be more. So in all my spare time, I'm also the co-lead of the Illinois Alliance of IPSEs. So we are a coalition of people who do this work in the state, and we're trying to help each other to expand this work in the state. So we want to see more CTP programs across the state, because as much as I love After 22 and programs like it, we have a limited capacity, right? Like we can only take about 18 students every single year, and the need is much more than 18 students every single year. So we want to help other colleges, other universities put programs like this on their map, on their radar. And we're kind of helping to build the blueprint to be able to hand over to colleges what you can do to start these programs. The other thing is that, IPSEs are, a lot of them can be quite expensive. And so, giving families the options to have like a free or reduced program, or, there are other universities in the state that offer like housing and things like that. So if that's something more appropriate for some of their families, they can do that too. Like we're not trying to compete, we're trying to expand. We want these everywhere because our students are really having a good time. They're enjoying it, and they're leaving with that experience and that job placement.
Just interested in hearing more about like the integrated classes. How do those been working out?
Yeah, so after 22 doesn't have necessarily any specific courses like that just yet. So like we're working on foundational courses. We're adding the life skills and the soft skills because we saw the need. But students right now, every course they're taking is offered in our course catalog. So the community education, or we call them continuing education courses, is where our students start because that's where a lot of the foundational skills are worked on and live. And those classes are open to anyone in the community. It's just a fee. Any students at large, they can come and take these classes. And then the credit classes, again, we don't add any classes that aren't already in our course catalog. And just a plug for CCC, we have so many classes. Like we offer classes on everything and anything. And so it's great that our students, as like I keep saying this, but as long as they qualify for the classes, they can take the classes. Meaning like if they want to take the placement tests, the math and English placement test, they can. Most of them don't, but that doesn't mean they can't take classes that are more like intro classes. And so those are just open to all of our Daley students, all of our Wright students. So all of the classes are fully open, fully available, fully on the course catalog right now.
So, Dani, it sounds like there have been, several cohorts now at Daley College. So, what are like completion or graduation rates like, and what are some of the kinds of things that the students have been doing upon graduation?
Yeah, so we have only had 8 students complete so far, just because we had our first
Okay.
small cohort. And last summer was our first completion ceremony. And I think the mayor was there. It was great. It was a really good time. I forgot to say this, but when students complete our program, they get a career advancement certificate. So it's not an industry recognized credential, but it is a certificate that says, I worked on these skills, I'm continuing to work on these skills, and they leave with the resources and the connections. When those students left or completed the program, all 8 of them had a plan. So it was either they already had a job, they were working with an employment partner. Most of them were working with the Annexter Center, who's been really wonderful in getting our students jobs. Or there are a couple students who came back and were like, wait a second, I can do college. And so they're taking like one-off classes as students at large as well. They've all got a plan. They're all working on that plan. And our next cohort should be completing at the end of this summer.
Excellent. And Dani, can you share with us some success stories about students? We'd love to kind of know what some of their takeaways were and what they thought of the program and their experience.
Yeah, I asked a bunch of students what they thought. So I'm going to directly quote, no names, just all the vibes from the students. So the big question that we asked is, what do you like about the program? I had one student say, what is there not to like about the program? I said, that's the best answer. Some also other students, after 22 makes me feel more independent, which I like. I feel like I've had a lot of resources and interesting courses that I'm taking here. I like career courses because it helps me prepare for having a job. I like that I can get along with people in my classes. The teachers are nice. Not all my teachers in high school were nice, but all the teachers here are nice. And I made friends with everyone. I'm cool with everyone. And then some of the things that they've said they've learned throughout the program, and this is a mix of our students who are in our newest cohort and who are the closest to leaving. So we have a wide range of voices here. I learned how to get used to being a college student. I learned how to get around school, how to talk to advisors. Another student said I learned how to make a resume and get a job. And I also learned how to make friends. I learned how to act more independent, how to act like an adult. I learned how to get a job, how to be a friend, and how to be helpful. And that friend piece, I love. That's me personally, Dani speaking. I think it's really wonderful to see the students who might not have ever met before this, just being able to connect with one another. And like I was saying earlier, be able to just be a part of the campus community.
Great. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
that's great.
Can I share some, just like a general
Sure.
employment success? It's not easy to get students with intellectual and developmental disabilities connected to employment, just in general. Sometimes, I think there's a lack of knowledge on the other end with employers. Like there's not a lot of resource, or they're just not aware of, what that means. If we say, hey, we have someone with IDD coming to work with you, and they say, I can't, or I don't know, or, there's a lot of maybe fear. And I think, again, shout out to Annixter Center. They've done a really good job of working with the employers, having these conversations. They've been coaching the students on the job. But we have found that employers who at first were resistant because they just didn't know what to expect, or were like, I guess we'll give it a try. They're the ones who are coming back to the students and saying, okay, when you're done with this program, can we just hire you full time? Like they just see how wonderful our students can be, how hardworking, how reliable they are, how consistent they are. Maybe they just need a little bit of extra training, extra support at the beginning, but that doesn't mean they can't meet the expectations of the job, and in fact are succeeding expectations. So nothing specific, but just in general, we've seen employers open up. Once they open their doors, they learn a lot, they get a lot out of it, but then our students are able to get jobs because they've proven themselves time and time again.
No, that's great. And that's the goal. Like that's what you want. And being able to share kind of those anecdotes and those success stories with other employers will hopefully allow, you to have more employer partnerships and be able to kind of spread the word. So it's great.
And Dani, you mentioned coaching. Just for anyone tuning in that may not know about job coaching, can you tell us a little bit about what that looks like?
Full disclosure, I'm not a job coach. I've only seen it with the students, but yeah, so Annixter right now is our employment partner. And what they do is they kind of help students from beginning, like application to the job, to end of they are successfully on the job going every single day. And part of that job coaching support is helping with applications, helping with resumes. They do mock interviews. They bring them to career fairs, to hiring events. And then once a student gets an interview, they'll go to the interview with them. Once a student gets a job, they go to their job with them the first couple of times. They do periodic check-ins to make sure that everything is going well. They check in with the employers as well, and then slowly fade their supports away. So it's kind of a more supportive approach to placing individuals in employment. But once those individuals know what they're doing, they want to be not needed anymore.
That's great. What type of internships are the students getting?
All of them. No, we have a big mix of internships. I will say One Summer Chicago has been wonderful. All of our students have been connected with One Summer Chicago. City Colleges is a One Summer Chicago site. So a lot of our students start on campus, a place where they know is familiar. They're connected with some of the offices that they might not have necessarily connected with just being a student. And they get to start their work there. So some of them are making flyers for events, or greeting people who come in for financial aid questions or things like that. And then we've had a wide range of just out in the community. Chicago is the best city in the world. We have so many opportunities. We have so many great employment partners. A lot of our students have been able to take advantage of that. So we've had some students who get to work at the Bears game. No big deal. They work at Aramark. They work at McCormick Place, Benton Harbor, all the places.
So great.
Yeah.
A very diverse experience.
Definitely. And we try to match our students based on their interests. So it's not just okay, all of cohort 4, you're going to work at the same place. We want to see what they want to do, because we know our students, anyone's not going to stay in a job that they don't like or they were forced to do, right? So it all goes back to those IPPs and setting up those goals and those plans and those interests, and continuing to have those conversations. We've had some students who are I tried this is not for me. And then we start again.
Yeah, that's great.
And Dani, I'm wondering, how involved are the families in terms of supporting the students, and what does that look like? What's their involvement like throughout the program?
Yeah, our families are very involved. This is just in general. A lot of times this population have very involved families, which is wonderful. I think one thing that we are working on is, because this is also college, the family's rights and responsibilities and the law changes for them as well. So while we're still continuing to communicate with the families, invite them to our events, we also want to have realistic conversations with parents by saying, your child is now a college student. So when they need help in their classes, or when they don't know something, it's their voice that needs to be heard. they need to be the ones advocating for themselves. And so it's not always an easy transition, especially coming from K-12 and having wonderful supportive families and families who've had to be the voice for their student for so long, to kind of like wean away that support as the college student becomes more independent. And so we don't leave them out. Families are so important to us. We include them in as much as we can, but also we want to have those hard conversations of how do we start setting your child up for success, for adult life, for years to come.
For any of our employers who may be listening, do you have any best practices that you can share in terms of working with the IDD community?
Yeah, I think the first thing is just don't pigeonhole this population. You know one individual with IDD, one individual with IDD. Each of them is so different and unique. And so getting to understand their needs, their working styles, their preferences, what support they do or don't need, that's really important. Just asking questions and then just being a listener. It is okay to ask questions. It is okay to say, what do you need? Because if we don't have these conversations, that can end up in not good stuff later on down the road. And understanding that accommodations are not difficult. Most of the time, they're not expensive, and they could really help an employee stay successful and stay at your company for a long time. Some other things I was just thinking about in general is just setting high expectations. Our students are rising to the occasion if those expectations are set high enough for them. It's very easy, I think, sometimes with labels of IDD saying, oh, they can only do so much and this is it and nothing else. And that is categorically wrong. Just like every other individual, you want to give them those high expectations, obviously give them the support when they need it. Don't sell them short, don't shoot low. These are individuals who can thrive in any setting with a little bit of training, a little bit of support. And then also just connecting to resources for all of the city. It is important that we connect our individuals to you resources, to you employers. It's harder out there for individuals with IDD to get a job, to get support. And so removing barriers to that support is really, really important. Opening your doors, opening your arms, and asking questions, I think, is the most important thing.
And is that part of the work that you do at the After 22 program, is helping students kind of have that voice to articulate what they need?
Definitely. Yeah. Advocacy is the most important skill that we hope they leave with. Like learning business 111 is important too, but also just, knowing their rights, knowing their responsibilities, and being able to ask for it is a top priority.
Yeah, that's really important. I know that Lauren and our team at the Career Center work with people on that too. So, it doesn't really matter, how long you've been in the workforce. That's something that, as someone with a disability, I feel like you always have to kind of relearn and understand, and maybe take a step back and learn a little bit about the job before you ask for things. So understanding how to do that is really important to success, I feel like.
Exactly. And it changes in each setting and each stage of life. So like it looked different in high school than it does in the college setting, than it does in the job setting. And so understanding what that looks like for each person and like giving them the skills and the tools and the language to ask for what they need, I think is so important.
Dani, I'm also wondering about students who aren't able to get into the program because there's limited capacity. What are some of the choices that they have after leaving their high school setting?
Yeah, I would say a really important piece is getting connected to DRS. It's DRS's job to help individuals with disabilities get jobs. And that can look a bunch of different ways. That could be college. That could be referring them to Annexer Center. That could be, finding a different supportive program for them. So that, in my opinion, is the best place to start. Now, I will say it's a big agency and a lot of people need the support. So you have to be a loud voice. You have to be the one raising your hand. You have to follow up and say, I need the support, because they do come through. They have provided a lot of my students with a lot of opportunities, but they got to go out and ask for it. You have to be the one saying, I need this support. And then just having a plan and knowing what it is you want. Like, do you want to go to college? But maybe this isn't the right fit. Do you want to get a job? Okay. Do you want to work with MOPD? Do you want to work with any other agency in the city. Like, just knowing your resources can be really, really important and really empowering. And then don't stay quiet. Keep asking for that help that you need. And if you need help, reaching out to agencies like Access Living, even like reaching out to us. If you have questions, we can try to point you in the right direction. I think people who do this work in the city of Chicago, we just care about individuals. So even if someone's not in my program, I would love to like connect them to the right program. And maybe after 22 is right for you next year or the year after. But just knowing that closed mouths don't get fed, and just being that loud voice and advocating for yourself and your rights.
And is there an age limit in terms of participating in the program?
Nope, not for us.
And how do employers get involved? Is there a space on your website for that as well?
That one, just email me after22@ccc.edu, and we can have a conversation and talk about what kind of partner you want to be and how you can help us. Going back to CTP programs in general, if you, as a person listening, has any connection or any idea or any desire on like expanding these programs, especially in our city, we need more programs like this. So I'd love to be a thought partner, also joining the Illinois Alliance for IPSIs, getting involved so that we do have like, hey, maybe you can't come to Daley or Wright, but you can go to this college or this site that also has a college. Like, we want to build these programs up and we want them to be abundant, because I don't love turning people away. I want everyone to get the resources that they deserve and they have the right to. So if you want to connect in any way, or you have any questions or any thoughts on programs like this, please reach out after22@ccc.edu, and I'd love to talk further.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us today and sharing all of this information about the After 22 program. I know it's such a valuable resource and program for students in the city, and we're really happy to see it going strong and thriving, and we also hope it will be at more of the campuses as well. It'd be great.
Yeah, just a joint manifest. Everyone listening, manifest, like, we got this.
We hope you'll stay and listen as we share additional student experiences about the After 22 program. There is a link to the video on the website to this episode as well. Thank you.
My name is Trayvon Turner, and I am 27 years old.
My name is Anastasia Moon. I am 24 years old.
My name is Samuel Galde. I'm 24 years old.
My name is Jarwick McLean, and I am 24 years old. I wanted to join the After 22 program because I want to get more education.
I was so excited to join because I always wanted to like attend a community college.
I really like it, and I enjoy spending time with the After 22 students.
I want to get a better experience, and I want to learn different things and be around my old classmates.
I wanted to join the After 22 program is to just take classes and get a job and have internships here and have a ton of opportunities.
I really like the staff, and they helped me with a lot.
The classes I took is college success readiness, college readiness, and also job/career readiness.
My favorite part at Daley College is the student activities. I love playing basketball.
The skills that I learned is being on time, being responsible, and having a lot of good manners.
In manufacturing class, I learned how to build things.
My favorite part about After 22 is when I participated in my internship. I met a lot of different people.
In my internship, I worked at Measurable Financial. I learned about organization skills.
My internship, it took place here at Daley. I worked in the student activities room, and I worked in the financial aid and the career development, and I also worked as a security guard.
It feels great for me that I completed this program. Yeah. I learned so much.
Daley College has a lot of support and they can help you to get towards your future.
I really want to say thank you.
Because of this program, I'm ready to take my next steps. I'm excited. I'm happy. I have so much success. I'm so satisfied of completing this program.
We did it.
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 Thank you for joining us for this month's episode of All Access. Be sure to check us out on social media at MOPD Chicago.
Special thanks to our executive producer, Commissioner Rachel Arfa, the City of Chicago's production team, our sign language interpreters who helped to make our podcast accessible, and our special guest today. See you next time.